to access this in the future, it will be on Instagram, TV. Our Instagram is at the bottom, the Pharma Co, or it will also be on our YouTube channel. So thank you guys so much for joining today. My name is Tatiana Hines, and I am one member of 4 out of the Pharma Collective. And today we're here to tell you about what we wish we knew when we were getting on the hunt for pharma internships last year. So now we want to be able to use this time to help you guys drop some gems and help you guys secure the bag. Okay. So the objectives that we have today are just to encourage you all to complete internships through our success stories and success stories of others. If you do want to see other success stories that are outside of the Pharma Collective, we do have on our Instagram page a lot of members and other fellow pharmacy students who shared their internship experiences. So we also want to ensure that you all are aware of the different components of a typical internship application, just so you don't have any surprises. Internship season is upon us now. Some are even open and interviewing currently. So we're also going to share with you what we believe to be some of the best practices while applying, and then giving you guys some resources so that you can find additional internship opportunities.
And so I think Joe joined on. Joe, you want me to grab this one?
Yeah, man. No, I got it. Cool.
Thank you, bro. I'll just give you a little moment to get caught
appreciate the lookout.
You know I got you. You know I got
you. So just a little bit about the outline that we got going on for you today. First off, we definitely go start off with our intern stories. Not going to go too deep into it, just kind of a little bit about how we ended up and where we worked last summer. Next, going on to 3 Ps. So Matt is going to actually go over that, how to prepare for an internship, what you need to publicize, basically what you need to post on your social media so people know about you already, even before you get to the interview, how you're supposed to perform when you have the interview, whether it's like, where you get to internship, before you get to internship and the interview and everything like that. And then we just go close it out with a couple of remarks.
Oh. Sorry about that.
So as always, we don't want anybody to take what we say to heart. These are our own thoughts. Sorry. These are our own thoughts, and we're not tied to our university. So we're not tied to Howard, UNC, High Point, TSU. We're not tied to none of that right now. We're just coming straight to you from our own perspective. So definitely take what we say with, with a grain of salt, but don't take it to heart. Don't say like, oh yeah, Joe from IPHO at Howard said this or that, third. So, just, listen, have an open heart to what we say. So like I said, we're definitely going to start off with how we got our internship, just about real quick, real simple. So this past summer, I had the opportunity to intern at Vertex Pharmaceuticals. I was their first global medical strategy intern. It actually wasn't the position I applied to. I actually applied to 2 clinical dev positions because that's kind of like the field that I want to go into. I actually got my position through referral. So I reached out to Kevin Clark, if anybody's familiar with him. I told him the 2 positions I applied to, and he said, cool. Had me talking to a recruiter, not knowing that the recruiter passed on my resume to a different recruiter who was in global medical affairs. So I was very confused when I got an invitation to an interview for medical affairs. But, my foot was in the door, so I went ahead and, got my position through referral.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe. So I will go next. So again, my name is Tatiana Hines. I am a P3 at UNC Chapel Hill Usherman School of Pharmacy. And last summer, I completed an internship at a mid-sized global biopharma company called Beijing, and they focus primarily on hematology and oncology products. So for like leukemia, lymphoma, and a lot of things like that. So my journey into getting this getting this internship was, I would say, maybe the Cinderella story. I don't really know how to best describe it, but it really took a lot of faith. It took a lot of hard work, and it took a lot of time for me to really find what company would best align my values and my own personal and professional goals. So with that, at UNC as a P2, we are exposed to the different internship opportunities that past students had. So we have a whole list. So I basically applied to the whole list of things that I wanted. I was interested in 2 areas, which was pharmacovigilance and regulatory affairs. And we usually start our intern hunt process in October. So I was spending time going in October, hearing classmates that got internships already and already accepted. And then there was also a bit of a delay due to the fact how we were still in COVID. So there were a lot of companies who were saying, like, we're not sure if we're even having anything, or if it's going to be remote or in person, which definitely influenced my decision as well. So just to keep it short, basically I applied to a lot. I got a lot of good interviews. I was really not great at public speaking last year. It takes a lot of practice. So I did have a little bit of issues with the interviewing at first. I used some of the advice that we are going to be giving today on having mock interviews and using other opportunities. There was one company that I felt very confident in. I was strong. I knew a lot of people who were currently working there. I felt very prepared for the interview. I prepared for almost a week doing the same, like, tell me about yourself and all those questions. I left the interview. I walked out, kind of cocky. I was like, oh, I definitely got that. Like, I'm good. 2 days later, I get the reject letter. It was honestly like heartbreaking for me. I went through a really big like imposter syndrome moment, just really, not knowing if I was like worthy of getting a pharma internship, if pharma was actually for me. And I just kept applying. So I used different opportunities. We are going to share some resources at the end, but I utilized the different resources. I utilized our network of doses of melanin, and that really helped me. So I ultimately found Beijing in about February, and I just had to keep faith. So I did a lot of interviewing. I realized that there were some companies that maybe didn't align with my values, and other companies that maybe it was outside of the area that I was interested in, and I really wanted to get experience in pharmacovigilance or regulatory affairs. So at the end of the day, I just took my time and I prayed a lot and I kept faith, and it ended up working out for me. Sorry, that was long-winded, y'all.
No, you're good, Tati. Thank you so much for sharing. Hi guys, my name is Milka Tawalde. I am a third-year dual degree PharmD MBA student at High Point. This summer, I had the privilege of working at BioMarin as a very long title position. I'm sorry. Okay, I was a strategic risk management, worldwide research and development strategy, scientific and collaborations policy intern. I know. Pretty much, it was a role that kind of combined clinical development, medical affairs, and regulatory all into one, kind of working with key opinion leaders and so on and so forth. And if you know me, I'm interested in the commercial side of things. So I didn't really get that much exposure to what I wanted, but I got a great understanding of what a pharma company is supposed to be like, which is what I wanted out of the experience. So how I got my internship was real weird. I actually had an internship at first with a medical device company in marketing. So like it was in my area, but like the company was a little sketch. I'm not gonna lie, guys. Like I'm someone who's really big in diversity and just health equity in general. And when you roam through a pharma company's website, they should have something, in my opinion, that reflects how they're tackling the issue of health equity. And this company didn't. And when I asked them this question, when they ask you what questions are you going to ask, like what questions do you have for us? That was my question from off the gate. Like, what are you guys doing to tackle diversity in your company or within the community? Because I don't see anything on your website. They literally was frozen for like a good 10 seconds, like didn't know what to say. And that image left in my head, like, this isn't really a company I want to go for, but that was my only opportunity at that time. Literally like a month later, some lady hits me up on LinkedIn saying she has like this company that she works for, ARM, and she's like a recruiter, wants to help me find an internship for the summer. And, you know, people who hit you up on LinkedIn are typically sketchy. Like, you wouldn't believe, you know, a lot of what people say. But, you know, she looked like she was had a good like background. Like, she was from Yale. And I was like, okay, like, she looks like she's actually on their company profile. Like, she's real. So I was like, okay. So I sent her my CV. She actually ended up sending my CV to a whole bunch of companies within the ARM, which actually is the Alliance of Regenerative Medicine. So they are a company that advocate for cell and gene therapy companies, so pharma companies who focus on that, which we don't really talk about a lot in pharmacy school, but it is also another area that PharmDs can actually participate in. You know, medicine has transitioned from being like chemical based to biological, and now the fact that we're on the genetic level, like it's advancing in that way. So there's a lot more opportunity for PharmDs in that area. So yeah, actually, she sent my CV to all these different companies, and all these different companies were hitting me up, asking for interviews with me. But BioMarin sticked out the most. They were super dope people. Adora went to Howard. She's like the VP of the position, the department that I was in, and was just really sold the opportunity to me, and the pay was worth it. So that's definitely, you know, solid selling point. But yeah, kind of taught me the value of making sure that your LinkedIn is on point. She found me on LinkedIn because she thought my LinkedIn looked really well, and she was like, she wanted to help a student of color that is a PharmD or interested in pharma. So I hope, just from off that story, I hope that you guys take in consideration what your LinkedIn possibly looks at and want to rethink some of the things that are on there. So yeah, that's my story. Sorry if it was a little long, my bad.
Not long at all. Thank you so much, Milka, for sharing. So I'm pretty simple. First off, my name is Matthew Otule. I'm a third-year pharmacy student from Texas Southern University. Like Milka, I had the opportunity, or I was able to get my internship through LinkedIn. So I go to TSU. I don't know if anyone's too aware. There's not really too many like industry type or industry related things that you can do. Definitely have to kind of go out on your own to get whatever opportunities that you're looking for. So that's kind of what I did. And I heard that I got coached or mentored about that pretty soon, or pretty early into my whole journey into industry with TSU. So I was making sure to do that. So actually it was through one of my advisors. She was really good. One of her classmates graduated and went to Takeda, and I simply, which we're going to talk about later, I publicized myself. I told her exactly what I was trying to do, and so I was just kind of, I guess, thank you. To me, I was just I was just talking. That's kind of naturally who I am. I kind of just like telling people who I am. I believe that there's power in words. I think I shouldn't have said that because that's in the slide later, but I feel like there's power in words. So I believe in like speaking things into existence. So I will always kind of just tell people what I want to do. And so that was no different. But me doing that, she reached out to someone who worked at Takeda. And that's when I literally probably about a week later got an email about this amazing opportunity. But I didn't, of course, I didn't want to stop there. You hear about the stories about so many times people applying, like Tati just said, you're applying to 1,000 internships and you literally get none of them. So I didn't want to put all my eggs into this one basket. So I applied to several, probably like, it's crazy. Me saying this is kind of wild, but I only applied to like four or five internships, to be honest with you. I was just fortunate enough to get 2 or 3 interviews. So I did it with Abby as well. And I was intentional on reaching out to somebody on LinkedIn. That's the connection. I wanted to make sure that I got that position, and I was very, very, very thirsty for an internship at this time, like hungry for one. I was like, I can't go into the summer not getting an internship. Like, I just feel like it would set me behind. So that's why I was so hungry. I reached out to someone who on LinkedIn, I didn't know them at all. And this was back when my LinkedIn was not looking what it's looking like right now. I think I didn't even have the 500 plus followers or the that thing, whatever. I forgot what it is, but I didn't have that. Like my LinkedIn was just not looking up to par. But I did reach out to them, and through that connection, she reached back out. I set up a meeting, and I literally got that internship as well, a little late, but there's really just power in kind of what you say, putting that energy out in the world and reaching out and trying to make a connection and solidifying what you want. So yeah, just we kind of wanted to share our 4 different aspects and 4 different ways about how we got our internships, just to let you know there's many different ways to do it, but every single way is all about intention whenever they're kind of jumping into those opportunities. But thank you for everybody for sharing. We're gonna move kind of I know it's 6:30 already and we don't want to keep y'all too long, so kind of start moving through these a little quickly. Like Joe said, whenever we were setting up this presentation for you all, we were trying to look up or think of a clever way to kind of think of, well, at least what we think the tools to success are. And so what we kind of came up with was the 3 Ps. The first one, of course, is to prepare. You want to make sure that you kind of understand, you want to make sure that you understand that most applications are looking for 3 things: a letter of intent, letter of recommendation, and CV and a resume. So just knowing that, trying to get those things ready before applications even open, and trying to make sure you have the number of letters and making sure you're going to ask who you're going to ask and all that before will set you up perfectly. You want to make sure you publicize yourself. Like I was saying, there's power in the words. So you want to make sure that you're kind of just sharing your work, sharing with the world what you want to do and putting that energy out there, as well as you want to make sure that you're putting the best version of you out, no matter what type of social media outlet, because it's more than just LinkedIn, right? That's not the only social media we use. And last is to perform. And that's simple. Whenever it's time for that interview, you did all the preparation. So you want to make sure you pull through and actually perform. So you can go ahead and keep pushing it out.
So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and introduce us into our first section, our first P, prepare, okay? We want y'all to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. When companies are getting these materials from you, this is their first impression of you. You wanna make sure that your CV, your LOI, and your LOR are on point, that they properly represent you and they highlight what your skills are and what your interests are. So we're gonna kind of tackle each of these things one by one so you guys can get a brief understanding of how you maybe want to framework it. Also note that these are just our opinions and suggestions, and that there are a multitude of ways to have these done. So these are it's not just restricted to what we say. So please be open and use this as a foundation to kind of explore some more. Yeah, next slide. So we wanted to start off each section with a quote. I want to go ahead and I like this little quote that says, when you get to that level, it's not a matter of talent anymore, because all the players are so talented, it's about preparation. And I think that really represents us pharmacists, PharmD students pretty well. Like, we're all here, we're all pharmacy students. We did the work to get to where we are today, but to get to the next level, it's really about how much we prepare to really show to these companies what we're able to provide, what we're able to bring to the table. So yeah, hopefully these next slides will be able to help you do that. So CV, this is really the key thing. This is what everyone really looks at. Like, if you're looking for an opportunity, it's let me see your CV, send me your CV. So the first thing when you're really tackling your CV, what you really want to think about is, what is your message? What is it that you want an employer to see about you? What is your interest that you want to come off the page so that they automatically understand? If you're interested in marketing like I am, like, you want them to see your CV and understand that this person wants marketing. She has had this experience before. She's interested. She's tailored all of her things towards marketing. Think about what your message is. That's straight off the bat. Next, you want to arrange your skeleton or outline of your CV. I'm gonna show you an example on the next slide of what one possibly can be, but the important thing here is to have what you want to highlight at the top so they can see that. Sometimes, for clinical pharmacists, I think CVs can be up to like 20 or 30 pages. Pharmacy, they're really up to like 4 pages. I mean, for industry, they're really up to 4 pages. And sometimes they don't even go through all 4 pages. So it's really like the first 2 pages that are really critical, that you're kind of outlining your CV in a way where your pharmaceutical related industry or your professional experiences are at the top so they can really see that. Next, you want to choose descriptive headings that highlight your experience. Like I kind of mentioned already, if you have pharmaceutical related industry experiences, you definitely want to put that at the top. You want to highlight that you've had this experience, that you want to show to them that you've taken the effort to want to do that, because that's something that you've had a long interest in. But if you don't, actually, it's okay. Showing that you have that professional experience is really important. Say that you are a CVS intern or at a clinical hospital intern. That's great, which is what you do at number 4. You want to tailor what you've had your experience at that certain place in a way to where you're showing your transferable skills to that company. I was a hospital intern here at a local hospital in Greensboro, and I thought that something that was really beneficial that I did was I took on a project to revamp the pharmacy intern program. I had a presentation in front of the whole pharmacy director staff, and that was a skill that I was able to project on my CV, that I was able to communicate changes and modify the program, strategize different opportunities for students to grow within the hospital. So you're always going to be able to find different ways to kind of tailor your experiences to kind of framework it in a way to tailor each position or each job that you're interested in. That reminds me, prior to going on the next point, you're going to have a different CV per job that you apply to. If you're applying to a marketing intern, it's not going to look this internship. It's not going to look the same if you're applying for MSL internship or a regulatory internship. The CV for your marketing is going to more talk about your ability to market, brand strategy, all that stuff. Your regulatory, you're going to talk about laws and other FDA related regulatory policies, and medical, you're going to highlight more of your ability to communicate medical and technical language to other people. You'll be able to talk about your people skills. So each job is going to have you highlight a different opportunity or different skill that you're using that you're going to be able to transfer into the role that you're applying to. And then, format your document in a way to your content stands out. I think something that I've really learned is making sure that your CV is consistent throughout. Say that your date, you have September written out all the way, but the next line you have January written out in JAN. Like those little things can throw off an interviewer or a reviewer for a job, and they will go ahead and just cancel that CV out. So making sure that you're consistent and that you make things that you want bolded or highlighted or shown out to be different intentionally. You have to be very intentional with what you make stand out so they see it and it pops off the page for them. But with other things, like with your spacing and your lining, you want to make sure those are pretty consistent so it doesn't throw off the interviewer, because some people are type A like that. But so here is just a brief little example, actually given by my professor, which she was really nice about that. So really see what an example CV to start off with. And here you can just read on your own how they were able to framework the role and kind of highlighting each point with a different task or a different impact that she was able to relay from that experience. I think that's really the key goal, being able to quantify and show the impact of your internship or your fellowship, I think in this example, but kind of showing you the framework example that we kind of curated, that we kind of all four kind of agreed on, was first, of course, starting off with your educational experiences. We want to know that you got the basics out the way. Like I said, we're all starting on that PharmD level. But then if you have that pharmaceutical industry experience, which you guys are all pursuing right now by coming to this talk, obtaining an internship, if you did a business case competition, these are all things that can really go under that experience. Professional experience, any type of work experience, maybe you did research that you wasn't doing an article for, that you were actually getting paid for, like a lab tech or CVS intern or a clinical intern, that's something that you can go there. Any presentations that you've done at school, that can be something, a presentation that goes on there, or even a presentation that you ended up doing, got an actual publication presented or presented at a SNAFA conference or something like that can go there. But let me just be mindful that everything on your CV is game for interview. So making sure that you're just staying consistent, everything that's on your CV at this point. And then everything else is pretty, understandable. Your research experience, leadership experience, I'm part of SNAFA and IPHO, so that's on mine. Any type of community service, that's on there, and then certifications and licensure. Sorry, y'all know I'm long-winded. I've been talking all this time. Okay, next slide.
To know about community service that I did not know about. So I'm a part of SNAFA as well. So with SNAFA, I didn't realize, I was just oh my gosh, it's so crazy. I don't really have any community service. SNAFA is community service. That is our mantra, to serve the underserved. So by going to certain outreach events, or even organizing these outreach events, those type of experiences can fall under community service. They can fall under leadership. You have a lot of opportunities, and people will be able to see that as well. Okay.
All right. So definitely, along with your CV, you definitely want to get your letter of intent together. Your letter of intent in my opinion, is putting your best foot forward. It tells the story of you besides your CV. So definitely when you're writing your letter of intent to submit to some of these companies, do your research on the company. You could always include like their culture, their values, their mission, their vision in your letter of intent. And some companies really take that up, like they really chalk it up, like you know what you're talking about. You've done your research. So basically, just going over the format, you always want to express your interest first. Showcase your skills. Like I said, this letter of intent is for you to put your best foot forward. Like I said, it's telling the story of you that your CV cannot tell. Your CV is just going to tell you about your experience of what you've done. But your letter of intent is really going to give them like, oh, this is this type of person who I'm about to interview. You definitely want to include your professional goals, why you might think that you're a good fit for the company. Generically, letter of intent, keep it down to like 1 page. Font size, I think baseline, I think I was talking to Professor earlier. She told me baseline is like 11. Nobody really does 12 size font anymore. So like baseline 11 to help you keep it within 1 page. Definitely be genuine. Like I said, these people are reading this. These interviewers are reading this, trying to understand who you are. So if you don't show how genuine you are in your letter of intent, then when they start asking you questions in this interview, it's not going to match up. Do not embellish. Yeah, basically, be genuine. Like I don't really know how to go about not saying do not embellish, but just put your best foot forward and definitely have your peers review it. I would say it's also good to have your professors review it too. Yeah, there's definitely professors who will tell you your letter of intent is trash. They will tell you like, this isn't you. You're talking about things, but it's not in your letter of intent. Why is that? So definitely get your peers to review it and definitely get your professors to review it. And one thing I would say that isn't on here is definitely put your signature on the letter of intent. Like develop a signature through, if you use Google Docs, if you use like Google, like Microsoft Word, try to develop a signature that you could put on the bottom of your letter of intent. Because like I said, this is a formal letter that you're sending out to these companies. And as you can see to the right, we do have an example for you. That first paragraph is you telling the company why you're writing this. Second, the body of it kind of, express your interests, your skills, your goals. And last paragraph is just you thanking the company for taking out time to go over your letter of intent and, giving them a contact for them to reach back out to you. So, right along. All right. So letter of recommendations. Big, I would say not all industry internships require letter recommendation. You really have to look at the requirements, but it's still good to have one just in case you get that one internship that be like, let me get a letter of recommendation. So you definitely should know who to ask. Don't go up to any random professor. Don't go up to anybody random on LinkedIn that you connected with. Like, can you please write me a letter of recommendation? They're going to look at you crazy and say no. So definitely make sure it's a professor that you have built a bond with. I mean, for those who have done an internship before, if you develop that relationship with your manager, definitely ask your manager and ask early. Like some people will ask you to write the letter of recommendation yourself and then send it to them so they could edit it a little bit. But definitely ask early because you don't know their schedule, right? Professors are busy, your managers are busy. Even you as a student, you're busy. Let's see, what's this next part? Right. Never build relationships in search of an LOI or a letter of recommendation. So, like I said, know who to ask. Don't just go to anybody. Like, and diversify your letter writers. Sorry.
Yes. So for diversifying your letter writers, it's more so like making sure to be a little, I guess, have some variety of the people that you choose. So for instance, for me, I had at the time, I didn't really have a professor that I felt close to, particularly also because of the pandemic, but at my school of pharmacy. So I asked my mentor, and he was also my past professor in undergrad, and I did research under him. So I asked him for a letter of recommendation, and then I wanted to ask the past internship that I completed my junior year of undergrad. With that, I don't have a formal pharmacy job at the time, so I didn't have like a pharmacist to ask particularly. I could have asked from one from undergrad, but I wanted to make sure I had something that was at least a bit more recent. So with that diversifying, I wouldn't ask two pharmacists for your letter writers. If you do like a pharmacist that you work for and a professor or a community member, something like that, just someone who you think can speak best on your behalf. And that goes with the third point: never build relationships in search of a letter of recommendation. These relationships should have already been genuinely created before creating the letter of recommendation. And that way, by having these genuine relationships, they'll be able to truly speak on your character in a way that doesn't sound robotic.
And just following that, don't burn any bridges, because you'll never know when you're going to need that letter of recommendation, y'all. Be careful with how you interact with people. Seriously, people talk.
Everyone says pharmacy is a small world.
And they mean it, because it really is.
You hear something so many times, you have to start believing it eventually.
Exactly.
But definitely great points to drop on there. That I really like that signature, Joe. I said something that I don't even implement on mine. So definitely great points. Moving right along to the next P though is to publicize yourself. So of course you want to showcase your strengths and your passions, but you want to make sure you're doing that authentically. I think Joe and even Tati touched on that earlier. You want to bring your best self, but you want to make sure that you're bringing you. You don't want to bring someone else to that interview or to what you're trying to publicize of yourself. And so there's, like I was saying earlier, there's several different ways to publicize yourself, and the things that, and there's several different ways to publicize yourself and the things that you're doing. So of course you have your LinkedIn, which is literally the main reason, or its main purpose is for that. It's to publicize what you're doing, to show off. It's really like it's really like your CV. On the screen. So that's what the purpose of LinkedIn. But again, you also have your other social medias. You have your Twitters, you have your Instagrams, and of course whatever else you're still using these days. So you want to make sure that you're putting your best self forward on those as well. Definitely, Ty's going to touch on that, but people are watching what you do, and if it's not companies, it's people who are looking up to you, or people who want to be doing what you're doing as well. So you just want to make sure that you're always kind of putting your best self forward. Which kind of brings us into our next quote here, and that is that nobody sits alone, accompanied, or no one sits alone accompanied only by stewing ambition that won't see fruit for years. Ambition is something that you turn publicly before there's anything to publicize. So pretty much again, telling people what you want to do. It is very, very important to put what you're trying to do out into that atmosphere. And so moving right along into the LinkedIn. So this is my LinkedIn. I want to explain it now just in case you're reading it as I'm talking. Very kind of old, but I just wanted to more so show, or I want to show what's important whenever you're kind of showing, or whenever you're kind of setting up your LinkedIn. And that's that about me. That about me is pretty important. And I want to show before I updated it what I wrote before. Just kind of generic. I don't really think that it highlights anything specifically that I'm trying to do, even though I am talking about industry pharmacy. I just feel like it's kind of a generic answer. And I was going to take a screenshot of Tati's about me as well, because I think it's perfectly executed. So I just kind of wanted to show the difference. If you can, or I don't mind if you run to her LinkedIn now, just to kind of see that difference and see how important it is on that about me. So of course, the next thing that LinkedIn is the connections. So you always hear about all the connections that you can kind of make, and it's true. You literally have the world at your fingertips, and it's really just a button, a connect away. One advice that I would say, or that I give whenever you're reaching out to these people, is to add a short message. Whenever you hit connect, it depends. So whenever you do it on the app, sometimes it doesn't do it, but whenever you're actually on the computer, whenever you hit connect, it'll say, do you want to add a note? Definitely add a note. I mean, it takes 2 seconds just to hit that connect button. It's so impersonal, but adding a small little message, just saying, hey, I met you here, or hey, I'm interested in something that you're doing, that literally can be night and day and kind of be the start of a relationship. And of course, you have your professional development opportunities. Honestly, I can't say too much because I haven't done, there's many different courses and different types of classes that you can do on LinkedIn. I haven't taken advantage of these resources, so I can't talk too much about that. I'm sure someone else here probably can, but they're out there. So just always take advantage of everything that's out there, or everything that you kind of have at your disposal. And some of those professional courses are of course one of them. Job opportunities. We heard from Milka how she got hers. I kind of told you about how I got my internship, and that's all over. There's literally people on LinkedIn who their sole purpose is just to solely post jobs. Like I forgot the guy's name. Whenever I can put his name in the chat here in a bit. He's super heavy on the medical affairs, but he literally just posts job opportunities all day, internship opportunities, job opportunities. Yeah, no, it's really, really crazy. So it's like there's people on LinkedIn who literally just here to help. So just take advantage. Use this website, and that's why I asked, is it really that important? Yes, it really is. You hear so much about people always talking about LinkedIn, and so it will honestly be it'll be a disadvantage for you not to use this. And that LinkedIn is really, it's the first impression. So I mean, of course, whenever you're trying to reach out to these people and make connections, the first thing they're going to do is check out your LinkedIn. And so you don't want to kind of shoot yourself in the foot before you even get going based off of the story that you're trying to tell on your LinkedIn. So definitely important to keep that up to date, keep that going on whatever you're kind of doing in your journey. So you can go ahead, Tots.
Awesome. So I think I'm next. So before that, thank you so much for the compliment about I do need to update it a little bit more now that I think my aspirations are a little bit more cemented into what specifically I want to do in the pharmaceutical industry. But my I was told that it should be in third person. Mine was in first person before, so I did change mine to third. And I just said, I'm a dedicated third-year student pharmacist at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, pursuing a career within the pharmaceutical industry. And then at my program, we have a lot of leadership development courses and ask about awareness and self-reflection. So we were able to have the opportunity to take the Clifton Strengths Finder. I think it's free. So if you have not taken it before, I really highly suggest that you do it. It's really good to get that awareness within yourself, but also being able to talk about it in interviews has been really helpful for me. So I then listed my Clifton Strengths after that. So that was one thing that was helpful for me. And then for the professional development courses, there is LinkedIn Learning, which is very useful. It may not be things that are specific to pharmacy, and it may not be areas that are specific to medical affairs or things like that, but you can learn about effective team communication, problem solving, leadership values, and those are still transferable skills that can help you. So for social media specifically, my goal for social media is to stay true to myself while still maintaining a clean image. So for those who do follow me on any of my social media accounts, like I'm very open about the things that I love. Like I love flowers, I love cooking, I love spending time with my friends and family, especially in the summertime, traveling, and then I love basketball. So with those things, I'm very open about posting things like that and sharing my actual life, and not feeling like because I am a professional student that I have to dim my own light, because I really believe that you can be yourself and still be professional. So with that, in order to maintain a clean image while still staying true to yourself, there are some things that everyone does not need to know about. So maybe everyone can see, yes, like you're having a night out with your friends, but they don't need to see if there's any alcohol or certain activities that are going on for your story. So with that, I definitely would suggest you to utilize the close friends, not Finsta, but close friends. And if you have a Finsta, I would recommend that you delete it, just because it kind of shows and maybe would suggest to people that you have something to hide. And that's not something that we want to exude, even though if it's just like an area that you use for your friends. So close friends can be your small group of friends, whether that's 5 people, or it can be people within your own professional network, like student pharmacists, that you just want to be able to see you on a more personal level, which is typically what I would use it for if I was using a close friends. So with that, I also believe in having an accountability partner. I have an accountability partner, shout out Megan, because she's been my accountability partner since first year. She's been very helpful in just, again, like when I'm on vacations and doing things like that, like I definitely am someone who believes if you want to take a picture in your swimsuit, or if you want to take a picture with certain things, like it is definitely okay to do that with some type of discretion. So sometimes I may have a picture that I want to post on my story or on my main feed, and I just kind of ask my accountability partner and say, hey, is this for close friends? Is this for social media at all? And having that person that you know that is going to be able to be honest with you and not afraid to hurt your feelings. So, and the accountability partner will also help to where, you know, maybe you do have a really great night out with your friends and you're just in a section and you're just posting everything, or anything under the sun. And that accountability partner can be like, whoa, like, I think you should have posted this or close friends, or I think you should have deleted that. So that is something that I definitely suggest you guys to have. So the third one is privacy, and privacy is keeping your accounts private. And just know that even though your accounts are private, most of us, like, you don't know every single friend that you have on your private account. A lot of my information and things are private, my social media accounts, but I'm still open to adding people that I may not know because we have similar interests and things like that. So with that, I would definitely recommend, especially while you're in the process of pursuing an internship or in the future a fellowship, just clean up your account for a while. If you have anything that you feel like may not give the best impression, you can definitely just put it in the archives. Archives are great because if you want to bring it back and you're just like, you know what, I think I was overthinking it, you can take it out of your archives and it'll show back to your feed and nobody will know. And delete the old tweets. Delete the old tweets. I'm going to say it again, delete the old tweets. So if you were like me and you had a Twitter back in the day and in like middle school, and you would just type a whole bunch of different things just to get in like Twitter jail. I don't know if Twitter jail is actually a thing. I never even got in it, no matter how many times I would tweet, but delete your old tweets. Just because everything can be found on the internet, even if you search your name. And I know a lot of people will think like, oh, like my social media account doesn't even have my name in it. People will find a way to find you. So just be cognizant of that. Okay, so moving along, I know.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So when you say delete your old tweets, is there a way to like delete a mass of them, or you mean like one by one every single?
Yeah, so there might be like situations, like a lot of different things. So for me, there might be like a something to where you can download and delete all of your tweets. I know like back in the day in high school that there was like a website, you could just say like delete all of my tweets and it would delete every single tweet that you had. I wasn't interested in that. I just wanted to delete some of the stuff that might have like had a bit of profanity or language that I don't even use anymore. Or maybe like values that I might have been talking about when I was 13 that kind of don't align with my values now at 24, almost 25. So I would just kind of like search my @name and then search certain words. And then if those words did pop up with things that I said, I would delete it. So that's just something, because you don't even know, like you look back and you're just like, I can't believe I was talking about LeBron James like that in my thing, even though LeBron James is the king. So, but did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Of course.
I don't even know where I asked that. I don't got Twitter.
No, you're fine. It's for any social media, so it's okay. And also with that, a professional Twitter is something that's great to have too. So I do have a professional Twitter where I talk about more relevant pharmacy topics, and I use them for after conferences. A lot of conferences will have a good amount of hashtags to use or a good way to connect with professionals. So with cold calls, this was one thing that I kind of did when I was in the search of finding an internship. I didn't know about the different resources I'm going to talk about on the next slide. So my next bet was to reach out to different people that are in the field. So if you do want to do cold calls, you can do this via LinkedIn. You can do this also via your email if you do have their email account. I like LinkedIn personally just because it seems a little bit more informal. So I'll go and I will reach out via LinkedIn first, maybe give it a month max. If they don't respond, then I'll try to find their email or ask for their email, and then I'll send it via that as well. So you can reach out to alumni, the university career services at your university, the LinkedIn. So with LinkedIn, sometimes you can just search for people in specific fields. So for me, I'm interested in drug safety, so I can look up global drug safety, pharmacovigilance, things like that, and try to see different people who are representing or already in that field. And also past lecture speakers. For me, I was taking a pharmacy industry class on the clinical development process, and we would have different lecturers come in every day, and it was really helpful because I was able to try to gain connections with those that would talk about their day-to-day and that I thought would align with what my goals were in the future. So here's just on the left an example, a screenshot that I actually did send before. And I just introduce the person. I say hello. I address them properly. This person wasn't a doctor, but if they had a PharmD or a PhD, I would address them as doctor. And I would just introduce myself because I didn't know this person. That's the cold call, by kind of just putting yourself out there and seeing what you get. So I just said, my name's Tatiana. I'm a second-year student pharmacist at X, Y, and Z. I've been openly seeking internship opportunities for the summer in the pharmaceutical industry to gain hands-on experience. I was recently referred to you by Dr. X, Y, and Z, and I would love to know more about your role at, and then you would insert whatever company they work at. And you can say, I have submitted my application, or I am hoping to submit my application soon, and I have an interest in the position. I hope to speak with you soon. Another thing now looking at it as a P3 is I would go and kind of list or give like certain availability dates of times that I'd be available, because that's a little bit easier for people to say, oh, I'm available at Tuesday at 12 too. So this is the time I would do it for. So for resources, just to kind of quickly go in, because we're kind of running on time. So it was okay with you guys. I know we usually end at the hour, but we might be about like 10 minutes after, but we are hitting our third piece. So that's awesome. So for resources, I looked at Blimp Careers. Blimp Careers was amazing. They, you just subscribe. So you can go and Google Blimp Careers, subscribe to their site, and they will send you every Sunday or Monday different opportunities that are at different pharmaceutical companies, so that pharmacy students or pharmacy professionals that are minoritized are able to have the same opportunities that some of our counterparts might have quicker access to. So the top one is word of mouth. Ask people, put yourself out there, publicize yourself. Tell people in your LinkedIn, I am looking for an opportunity. Tell your professors that might be inside of the area, inside of the pharma space, and just kind of openly just put yourself out there. The worst thing that you can hear is no. And I'm okay with hearing no, because eventually you're going to hear yes. So to the left is the IPHO. The IPHO site is really awesome. We didn't have it last year, but now I think they have like an internship central to where they list different internships that are registered with IPHO and give you those opportunities. They actually might have had it when we were looking last year as well, but I know they revamped it this year, and they also have it for fellowships. The Alliance for Regenerative Medicine, I'm not going to go into that too much because Milka did explain that in her pharma story. They are also on LinkedIn, so I'd recommend you adding them if you do have any questions. But LinkedIn, I think I got mine through LinkedIn, but I also might have gotten it from Indeed. But Matt also got his from LinkedIn. So just by searching for certain opportunities, medical affairs internship, seeing what companies that align with your values kind of match up and then going from there. So if you guys do ever need any help looking for opportunities on LinkedIn or kind of not able to find the specific opportunities you're looking for, definitely message one of us or even the Pharma Collective site. We all have the account, so we'll all see it and we'll try to answer your questions and help you out. Okay, now we're on our third P.
Last one, best one, y'all. It's game time, okay? It's time to talk the talk. Really, when it comes to performing, this is what finally sells the deal. This is you coming in and you're highlighting everything that they've already seen via paper, but they really just want to see your personality. They just really want to see if you're able to fit in with the environment of their company culture. So we're going to talk about interview prep, phone screening round, the actual interview face-to-face or via webcam nowadays, and then the overall do's and don'ts. And, you know, we got to have a little quote, okay? Opportunities don't happen. You create them. And that's exactly what you're doing in this interview process. You're creating your opportunity by showing them who you are, okay? Okay.
Perfect. And so thank you, Bilko, by the way. And so you kind of got past the first hurdle of finding this internship and you got the interview now. And so now what? I was gonna say that this is probably the most important part of the interview process, but honestly, I don't think that any part is more important than the other. You really need to execute on every part that you can, because you hear how important these interviews can be, and it really is make or break. I can share a story here a little later or after this before we move on. And so it starts off with the elevator speech. That's just that 2 to 3 minute. It really kind of depends on where you're putting your elevator speech, but usually it's about a 2 to 3 minute speech, just briefly explaining about who you are and why you're seeking that position. And that's important. Knowing your why of why you're applying to this internship is literally everyone asks that question in a different way. They either ask like, why this company or why this position? So just knowing your why ahead of time is super important. And I heard Joe mention saying doing your research, and kind of what he meant by that is just looking up some of the like the creed of the company, looking up the mission statement, looking up their vision, and seeing if you can find a way to tie that into your why. Of course, do that authentically, do that genuinely. If you can't really fit that in genuinely, then don't force it. But it is nice to know at least knowing some of the things that the company has on their principles, as well as if it's like a pharmaceutical company, of course, looking up, just having a general idea of like their therapy, like the medication that they're taking. And that's more so, I haven't really heard of anything like any stories of internships of them doing this, but I heard a story once of someone having an interview for a fellowship, and they asked, hey, so what's our top 3 products? And the dude couldn't answer it at all. So imagine if that was what the question that stumped you, something that you can just look up pretty simple. And of course, the STAR team method, I won't drag that dead horse. I'm sure you heard many, many times, but of course, that is the situation, the task, so how pretty much like what you have to do, the action, what you did, and the results, what came of it. And of course, some people put the T in there, tying it back to the position or the role that you're trying to do. Very, very important to answer all behavioral questions in this format. I guess I can just I'll save it for later. Just super important to answer in that format, because that's what they're looking for. Next, very, very important thing is to have questions prepared, because if you don't, it really makes you just kind of seem disengaged and just uninterested. If you like, imagine you going through y'all just went through this whole 30-minute interview. They ask you all these questions and you have nothing to ask back of them, because you have to remember that these interviews are just as much as an interview for them as it is for you. So you need to remember that, hey, I'm interviewing these people too. Like, do I even want to be with them? Like, I mean, yeah, of course I need to answer these questions to the best of my ability. And of course I'm trying to get the bag or whatever. I'm sorry, that's really what really be in the back of my head. But of course I'm trying to, get these experiences and get this on my CV, with not just getting on your CV, but of course I'm trying to get these experiences. But I mean, do I even want to work here? Like, is this somewhere that I can even see myself? Like, you know, Milka was explaining that when she had that one interview or that one internship, she was like, I don't even know if I want to work with that. You know, like you don't want to fall into those positions. You want to make sure you're asking yourself these questions early, and that goes along with making sure you're asking questions in that interview. Next is to relax, just chill. You have to remember that they chose you, but don't get too relaxed. I'll share my story here. So I mean, I recently did an interview with a company, and a lot of the interviewers kind of looked like me. Another bad thing was I actually had a meeting with one of the interviewers as well ahead of time. So whenever I saw that, I was like, oh man, this like it's green. It's like I got a little too comfortable though, and I think I said I still don't believe it, but they said that I said no shade. That's kind of crazy. Definitely don't say no shade in a professional interview. Jesus Christ, please y'all, please y'all don't say no shade in a professional interview. So I mean, yes, you need to relax. You need to remember that, hey, they chose you to be here, but don't get too relaxed. I mean, it's always professional. Always remember that professionalism is the number one reason, and that's what the number one thing that they're looking for, especially because, you know, I saw that these interviewers look like me. You got to remember, like, I mean, you don't need to hear from me, but being Black in America, you need to work twice as hard. So I'm not even sure why I got like that, but I mean, you learn your lessons. And I already said kind of talk about knowing your why. That kind of ties into your elevator speech, but that's very important. You kind of have to know why you're doing that, and of course you can kind of realize or go through that by doing your research of the company. And the last is mock interviews. That's very important, and I really advise that you try to reach out to people as much as possible to do mock interviews, because of course, like, you can say like, oh, I'm about to eat this interview, or I'm ready for this interview, but like, unless you're getting practice of how to answer these questions, it's kind of hard. Like, I mean, like, and I'm the type of person who sometimes I can be a know-it-all, sometimes, honestly and truly. So like, I might not want to, like, you know, do the practice. I'm like, man, I'm good. Like, I mean, I think that I think I'll be okay. I get into this interview and they ask me a simple, like a behavioral question. I just like, I think that I can answer it I think I have a perfect way of answering it, but when it comes out, it just sounds like just trash. So it's just like getting that practice and just, I mean, interview, it's a talent. Or these interviews, like being good at interviews, that's a real skill that you can gain. So just practicing and making sure that you're building on that skill is just super important. Also, one thing, I mean, last thing I'll add is after you get an interview, it's crazy because I mean, I knew this, but I didn't even add this to my own thing. After you get an interview, you want to make sure that you reach out to them. So, I mean, that's just to show that you're interested. That's just to show like, hey, I mean, I really do want this, and that keeps you fresh on their mind. You want to make sure, I mean, the time range that is a little different. You want to make sure you do that like 24 to 48 hours. I did just do an internship or an interview, and I didn't respond back to them until like 4 days later. I mean, so the time range doesn't really matter, but you try to do it between 24 to 48 hours. But that's all though.
Okay, so I think we are on one of our last slides. So with that, just trying to give you some interview do's and don'ts that we learned firsthand, we've heard, or maybe you've seen. This is mostly, of course, these are in person, but for the internship, and since we're kind of in between the world of COVID and trying to reach some type of normalcy, I would suspect that most of your interviews will be virtual. Since it's also the same way for a lot of fellowship ones as well. So we will go with the do's first. The do is be confident. So in the interview, they selected you. You had to already go through multiple steps in order to get to the interview, whether you know that or not. You had to get through the computer screening process, and then you had to get through the actual recruitment process, which is either done by like the manager of that company or from human resources. So you made it through about 2 to 3 rounds where others were excluded in order to even get to that interview, because not everyone gets the interview once they apply. So be confident, understand that they want to learn a little bit more about you. And that kind of goes into the second one. Let your personality shine. For me, I'm someone, if you know me, you know I love to talk. I'm a talker. I love to smile. I love to laugh. I love joy. So I am someone to where at the end of my elevator speech, I have a fun fact. I like to hear about people and learn about their lives too. So I would ask certain questions, even if I saw an interviewer and if they didn't have their professional background with the backdrop, like how I do, and maybe I can see their degree or I can see their sports team, and I'll ask them like, oh, like what sports team is that, or just small questions, just because even the person who's interviewing you, they're not just an interviewer or just a pharma professional, they're also a person too. But with that, it's important to stay professional. So I might ask one question or I might give one fun fact about myself, but I always keep it professional. You keep it appropriate. And with that, that comes to your attire. It comes to the way you carry yourself, things like that. So for staying professional attire wise, I think it's important to not just dress to impress from the top up, even though you're going to be in a virtual interview. I like to always just double check and make sure that I have all of my T's crossed and all my I's dotted. I wear pants too, like business pants. I also will wear shoes just in case. You never know. I've heard someone who had a residency interview ask for their applicants to stand up. So that has always rung in the back of my head. And just in case, also, I have a dog too. So if something happened and I said, can you excuse me for a moment? I don't want to get up and be professional at the top and party on the bottom. So another thing that is important is look into your camera. People can tell if you're looking down. You don't know what I'm looking down at. Right now I'm looking at my candle, but I could be looking at notes, which you would not have in the real environment of interviewing in person. So looking into the camera, it's the best way of eye contact that we can have at this time. And it makes them feel like you're giving them your full attention. Again, I think Milka spoke about this, but know your CV. I had the experience as well during an internship interview, and they asked me about a presentation that I had maybe 2 years ago on my CV, and I kind of blanked. I wasn't really able to speak about it, and I kind of cleaned it up, but I could tell that the interviewer knew that I really didn't know. I probably should have done a little bit more research on that experience and refreshed myself. So another thing that's important is having a professional background. One thing that I heard before is, you might think that your office space looks amazing. You might love your portrait that's in the back, but blur your background. If you don't want to blur your background, have a background like this. I went and I just Googled like professional backgrounds. I kind of saw the one that matched my vibe the best or kind of looked good with my hair or my skin complexion, and I chose that. So, and I do have a few different arrays that kind of like go with the different outfits that I choose. So just making sure you have a professional background, making sure that you have great lighting. I think investing in a ring light is really important, males and females, being able to have that good lighting and making sure. And then you can also on Zoom, particularly switch your lighting to adjust for any low light. That's also important. So if you guys do need to know about that, it's on the video area. If you press the arrow, you're able to choose a virtual background, and in that virtual background you can touch yourself up, you can adjust your light, so that's really helpful for me too. So last one is test your devices, making sure you test the platform that you're using beforehand. So if you're using Zoom, we are all Zoom professionals, so you might not have to do that. But I like to log in about 15 minutes early, just making sure that my background looks okay. I can do a sound check and making sure that everything's secure. And with your devices as well, making sure you have a backup device if possible. For me, if I have a meeting link, I don't only have the email link on my laptop, I also have it on my phone, just in case if something does happen technology wise, like Wi-Fi going out or anything, I'm able to just pick up my phone, use my data, and are able to continue the interview, because things happen. And I think we've all had an experience in COVID where we tried to share a screen or try to present and things didn't go our way. So with that, I think I also said, have your chargers, make sure everything is charged. You might be on 100%, but still have your charger, especially when you're sharing your screen or you have your camera on. I know for me, like Microsoft Teams takes a significant amount of energy from my laptop. So I can be at 100 and at the end of an interview, I'll be at 45. Okay. So for that, the next thing is don't. So I know it's really important to not read off your laptop. For me, that's something that it really took practice in knowing my elevator pitch, which is the tell me about yourself. I had the tell me about yourself written in my notes section on my computer and my phone. And in my first couple of interviews, I think I kind of was just like, well, I don't think they're going to be able to tell that I'm reading, but you can tell when someone's reading. You can tell when someone is looking around or just kind of glancing. It's very obvious. So making sure you're not reading off of your laptop, and by not doing that, you should be practicing your elevator pitch. I used to walk to the bus stop to school with my elevator pitch in my phone and would constantly say it to myself in the mornings. So the second thing, and we're going to start wrapping up, is do not undermine your experiences. And that kind of goes with being confident. So just because you don't have experience within pharma, don't undersell yourself. Don't say like, well, I'm a bit unexperienced in X, Y, and Z. If you're applying for a sales position, for me, in undergrad, I worked for Sunglass Hut. So I was like, I don't have pharmaceutical sales experience, but I did have sales experience in the retail setting. I sold sunglasses for a living, and this is what I do. It's almost similar to what you have to do in the drug development process. So just making sure that you are able to spin your experiences, like Mocha said. Matt did say this, so I'm not going to go too far in it, but don't forget to send a thank you note. It's really important to send your to express your interest and to stay on the mind of the interviewer. The next one is don't doubt yourself, and I think that kind of goes with number 2. For me, I said this in my story a little bit, but I didn't really go into it. I doubted myself a lot after I got a couple of rejections, or I got interviews at companies that I might not have really saw myself being at, and I doubted the process. I didn't think that I was going to be able to actually secure an internship. So I think it's important. I'm from Philly, and the Sixers always say trust the process. So I think it's important to trust the process and know that whatever is meant for you, it's not mistaken. It's your destiny, and it's going to happen, and you just kind of have to believe and have faith in whatever you do have faith in. And don't have any distractions. So make sure you secure your pets, trying to put them in another room, maybe silencing all of your electronics, silencing your phone, also silencing your computer. If you have a MacBook, you have an option to go on Do Not Disturb. So that's something that's really important, just in case if you get text messages. And if you do have roommates, just let them know that, hey, I'm going to have an interview from 12 to 12:30. Do you mind just like kind of staying in your room, or just allowing me to have that space? So I think that's really important. And one thing too, I guess if you do have a pet, I have a small dog who is very yappy. So one of my fun facts, my dog's name is Basil. So at the end of my tell me about yourself, I would say, and a fun fact, I love to cook. I love to cook so much that I have a dog named Basil. And if you do hear him, he's probably just letting me know that my Amazon package has arrived. So I apologize if it causes any distractions. And it's a funny fun fact. So hopefully that gives you some inspiration.